Welcome. Today we're going to be going over something I haven't seen a lot of videos on YouTube going over. I don't know how many of you know this, but there is currently two fully operational space stations in orbit. The ISS and then the Chinese one, which I'm not 100% sure of the name, so let me look it up. The Tiangong Space Station, which means Tangyong, Heavenly Palace. Which wasn't launched that long ago. I think in 2022 is when it was first launched. The ISS has been up for like 20-something years. But what we're going to be going over is abandoned space stations. There's not a lot of videos on YouTube about it, even though the company did post videos from the space stations when they were still operational. They never had humans on board, but it was test missions and they had cameras and experiments and stuff on it. Yes. Today we'll be going over the abandoned space stations that are still in orbit as of 2025. For my research, there are only two abandoned space stations still in orbit. They are called Genesis 1 and Genesis 2. These space stations were built by Bigelow Aerospace, and if you haven't heard of them, it's because they are no longer around. The goal of the company was to build multiple Genesis 1 space stations and had to string them together to help promote space tourism. They were going to build them for like hotels. The stations were built from Kevlar sheets, similar to the material used in bulletproof vests. Sorry if I keep looking away, I'm reading the script. The stations were made, and they were made to inflate into a tube shape with solar panels on both ends. They would be lightweight and take up a very small amount of space compared to other space station modules. On July 12th of 2006, Genesis 1 was launched into orbit on board a Deneb rocket. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. It was a Russian rocket. But when it launched, it became the world's first private space station. The Deneb, Russian-built and converted from an ICBM called R-36M, and the Deneb is no longer in service. The goal of Genesis 1 was to test the technology for the company's upcoming space hotel. Genesis 1 operated for 2.5 years before losing contact. Genesis 1 does not have propulsion system, so it can't be deorbited intentionally, and is expected to re-enter on its own within a decade. Genesis 2 launched on a Deneb rocket as well on the 28th of June 2007, and would be in contact for 2.5 years as well. Genesis 2 had some upgrades and bigger plans than its older sister, because they had some life science experiments on board, such as ants, scorpions, and Madagascar hissing cockroaches. They also had some pictures and other small things inside from people that worked at the company. And for some reason they even had a projector on the outside of the space station where they would project pictures of people that used to work for them. And if you ask me, it's kind of creepy just seeing this with the blackness of space behind it. It's just eerie. It's kind of like something from like a horror movie. And that's what I originally saw. I was scrolling on Twitter one day and this popped up and I was like, this is actually quite interesting. So I did some research, found out more stuff about it, and that's what got me interested in doing research for this channel of stuff that there's not a lot of information on, so people could so they can get this information somehow. Genesis 2 did have upgraded avionics, but it still didn't have a propulsion system on board, and will also deorbit within a decade. And like I said at the beginning of the video, they are both still in orbit, and since there's no plan to use them in the future, since they are pretty much useless, they'll just be waiting for the inevitable death once they are dragged too low towards the atmosphere where they will burn up. This video is probably going to be like 3 minutes long, but there's not a lot of information on these. I'll be putting some images and videos that I have found. You could still go to Bigelow Aerospace's YouTube channel, I believe, as of recording, and you could watch some of the videos. They have quite a bit. I think they even have the launch on there, if I recall correctly. I wrote this script in January of 2025, and it is December. I wrote it on January 8th, 2025, and it is December 28th. Because I was debating whether or not I was even going to make this channel. Because I got other channels, and this one, I have to do a lot of research. It's not hard, it's just tedious, because I want to make sure I got everything right. There'll be a new video out next week, which will be about lesser-known extinct animals. Well guys, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week, where we'll be discussing lesser-known extinct animals.